Hi, my name's Lori, and I lost my dog to cancer. He was a Great Dane, and his name was Truman. And it honestly was the most devastating moment of my life. And if you have a dog, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was my baby. One day he came home, he was limping. It was no big deal. He was a young dog. There was no expectations that it was his time to go. I took him to the vet, thought maybe he just hurt himself playing, something had happened, and I get to the vet, and I didn't even know that I was gonna get horrible news. And he told me he had cancer. I didn't even know. So he tells me I have cancer, the dog has cancer. So I ask him, well, what are the treatment options? And basically there aren't any treatment options. I mean, you can do chemo, you can do radiation and things like that, but at the end of the day, it just makes him sicker. It makes him feel really bad, and it doesn't do much to prolong the life. Now I got lucky, at least some people would say it was lucky. I didn't really feel lucky at the time, but I got lucky because it hadn't spread to his bloodstream yet. It was still located in that area. We got it really early. So we had to make a decision to remove his leg or not, because that was the only chance we had of it not getting to his system. Problem is with a Great Dane, I don't know if you know this, but they put 80% of their weight on their front feet. So like a small dog you might see without a missing leg, and even a Great Dane with a back leg, but not having the one in the front, it's kind of a problem. So we tried it for him, and I promised him that if he was in any pain, if it didn't work, that I would put him down. I would let him go. He was amazing. We called him Truman the tripod. He would race across the yard. It was hilarious. Like he literally was on 3 legs, and it was awesome to see because he could balance himself. It was amazing unless he was running at you. And then you were kind of like, okay, and you could see even his eyes got big, like, I don't know how I'm going to stop this big train of love. So that went on, and what happened is about 6 months into it, we were really good. We thought we had a great success story. We kept doing everything that we'd been doing, and he actually ended up getting a bone spur. And he got a bone spur in his neck. I happened to be out of town. I was in California, and the doctor called me and said, hey, we can't even wait for you to get home. I mean, trust me, I was on the next plane out because it's inhumane. He's frothing at the mouth. We can't even keep him comfortable. So they actually had to put him down. So I guess technically I lost my dog to a bone spur, but the reality is it all started because he got cancer. So I got diligent, and I thought, why is this happening? Like, why did a dog 4 years old get cancer? And I know part of me thought, well, was it genetics or what happened? But I started to research it online, and I was astounded by what I found out. First of all, I don't know if you know this, I didn't, but your dog is 4 times more likely to die of breast cancer than you are. 8 times more likely to die of bone cancer. And this is the part that really bothered me the most. They're 35 times more likely to die of skin cancer than you are. I don't know if you understand what that means, but what that means is the skin is like a huge organ on their body. So when it starts your dog is chewing and itching and scratching, some experts would argue that's like the first sign of cancer. Like we think it's allergies, but it's also a sign of their liver and their lungs kind of like and kidneys not working. I didn't mean to say lungs, but that's part of it. But it's really kidney and their organs not working properly, and it starts to show up in the skin. And it's really, really scary when it happens. And so I was like, this is ridiculous. And I started to think about it. It was like, well, wait a minute. My mom had breast cancer, and she's in remission. And, she's changed her diet. Like, she had a second chance of life, and she changed everything. She took all the processed foods out and everything like that. So we started to do the research on animals because there wasn't a lot out there about this until you start to dig. Okay, this is back in 2009, okay? We started to dig, and I couldn't believe it. And what I found was I went on forums. I was looking for answers, and what I found was people were feeding what was called a raw diet. Now, I find it funny that they make a special name for it because really it's real food, because that's what you're doing. You're feeding your dog real food instead of what's in the bag now. Okay, and when you're wondering, well, what do you mean? My bag is whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I was spending the most amount of money on my dog's food too. I went to the store, got the best bag I could, and now I know the truth about that bag. First of all, you think that the FDA is covering it because it's in a human plate, where human food is. It's not. It has guidelines, but at the end of the day, the AAFCO is really who's in charge of regulating it, and that stands for American Association of Feed Officials, okay? Feed, not food, feed. Because it was created in the early 1900s. Why? To make sure that you and I weren't eating diseased cows, pigs, and chickens that were gonna kill us. So what do you think these guidelines are for? Well, these guidelines that they're using to decide what goes in our dog's bag of food is basically designed to help an animal get fat quickly so that we can kill it and eat it. That's what the guidelines are for. So, and if you go to the FDA organization, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you go to FDA's website, you will see for itself that it actually has specific guidelines that actually say rat poison can be in your dog's food, roadkill can be in your dog's food. In fact, Wayne Purcell, who was the ex AAFCO president, is actually on YouTube on a clip saying that yes, fluffy can be in your food. That's right, your food can contain euthanized cats and dogs. The FDA even did a check on like 28 bags of dog food, and 90% of them had the drug that goes into putting your dog to sleep, putting him down, is actually in the bag. And again, I'm not trying to make this too science focused because it doesn't need to be science focused, guys. It's really simple. Go look at the back of your dog's dog food and tell me, do you understand every ingredient on there? Does it sound like something a wolf would eat in the wild? Does it say heart, lungs, kidneys, bone, blood, muscle? Does it say all those things? No, it doesn't say any of those things because none of those things are really in there. So that's why I was like, okay, wait a minute. I've got to find a way to find a solution that's going to work for my dog. So I started trying to prepare his food myself. Like I went into the raw food and I tried to do it myself. I have 5 children. So I love my dogs. I love my horses. I really have 18 children if you add them all up. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't get that done. So I looked out there and I found that freeze-dried raw dog food was an alternative. Doesn't have to be refrigerated, stays on the shelf. And what I found is that there were a lot of different formulas out there, but most of them were putting things in there, extra stuff like cranberries and broccoli and things that sound really good for humans that are really not necessary for dogs. And even more importantly, if we could argue that point if we wanted to, some people would, but I would tell you that, okay, that's fine. If you want to add pumpkin or some sort of fiber to your dog's diet, that's fine. But why would you pay a premium to put it in the bag? Think about it. Like when you go get your steak for your dinner, right? You go to the butcher and you get your steak, and then you go to the produce part and you get the carrots and the potatoes and all those things, and you bring them up separately because the meat costs more than the vegetables. But if you put them all in the same bag, it's a very easy way to make, beets be, the new filler, if you will. Like they're actually using it as a filler. So yeah, there's no grains in your dog's food now. There's no way. You could tell me all these things that are not in your dog's food because I see it on TV, but what are they putting into your dog food? And here's the most important part. I'm not against commercial dog food. That is not what I'm saying. There is some commercial dog food that you can feed your dog. I'm just telling you that I want to give my dogs that chance to live as long as possible and be as healthy as possible. And when you start feeding raw, the things that I noticed were less shedding. My dogs lost weight. Their coats were shinier. I mean, these are visible things. Like this isn't some kind of voodoo thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about you do this with your dog for 30 days and then you tell me, heck, make it 60 days. You do it for 60 days and then tell me your dog doesn't look and feel better. Even if you consider it a detox for your dog to get him off all the stuff you didn't know he was eating so that you can then transition him onto something that's really great, but you can see for yourself just how important the nutrition really is and what a huge difference it can make for your dog, especially like if he's eating his poop, if he's chewing a lot. If you have a new puppy that's pooping everywhere, look, I'll tell you right now, you want to cut the poop in half, feed him raw dog food. Okay, I have a little puppy we just rescued that we put on the TruDog food for the entire time. Like we're gonna keep him on there obviously, but for the first, he was on the other food at the rescue shelter and we transitioned him over and his poop was cut in half. To me, that was a huge benefit and has also opened my eyes to the fact that he was able to absorb all the nutrients that he needed. He didn't need to poop out all the extra stuff because his body couldn't process it. So the reason I'm reaching out to you today is because I want to ask you to take the TruDog Challenge. Because of Truman, I went out and actually created my own company. It's called TruPet, and our brand for dogs is called TruDog. And it's a really, really great dog food. 99% of it has meat in the bag, with only 1% being for the airing oil and stuff like that, so you can have the omegas and 3s and 6s that you need, some additional things into the bag. It's free. It's what we call freeze-dried. So we basically, it's 72 hours from the time we harvest the animal until we get it into the bag. And we basically take all the water out. It looks like kibble, It's crunchy, so the dogs love it. And basically you just put a little bit of water if you want to, just add some moisture back into it. But because there's no fillers and no grains and no nothing in it, it's still gonna stay crunchy. So that's what we call it, our Crunchy Munchy Beef Delight, because the dogs love it and it helps clean their teeth, and there's a lot of benefits to keeping it crunchy like that. So today I'm reaching out to you, just one dog lover to another, saying we've come up with a wonderful solution for you that can provide your dog the natural nutrients that are necessary for him to be healthier. And this, again, is the freshest form of food that a wolf would eat out in the wild. And when we think about a wolf in the wild and you wonder, well, how do you know which one's the alpha wolf? It's the one with the biggest heart. Because I know it sounds really gross to us, but at the end of the day, what do the wolves eat? The top wolves eat all the organ meat, and then they eat the muscle meat. And they all gnaw on the meaty bones. They all get blood while they're eating it, because these are things your dog needs to thrive. It's what they need. And when you have a commercial dog food, even if you do the very best you can with it, it still has one thing in common that your dog doesn't need. All commercial dog food has to be subjected to super, super high heats. It's like a microwave. It's like nuking. All the good stuff that even was in there gets sucked out. And that's why you see all those ingredients that end in ATE. Eight equals hate to me. So if you look at it, you should hate it. Because they're adding stuff back in that they can't keep in the food. But here's the problem. Your dog can't really absorb that any more than you can absorb when you take a supplement. Your body cannot absorb all of it. That's why people talk about 80% absorption or whatever, because at the end of the day, your body just simply can't take it in. So today, there's a button below this video, okay, and you can buy our food, our solution, to save up to 40% off today when you click the button. And this is a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you have 8 weeks to feed your dog this way, and I triple dog dare you.